Do you think nice guys finish last? Do you think being ethical pays? Let's explore. When we read newspapers and watch television news, sometimes we come across these stories of corruption. We come across stories of insider trading. We come across stories of abuse of power, scams, scandals. When you see all such news items, I'm sure you're struck by this question: what kind of a world I'm living in? What's wrong with today's world? Oh, sometimes when you read business section of newspaper, you certainly come across some corporates having questionable business practices and doing well. So the larger question is does it pay to be ethical in this hyper-competitive world? Today in this video, we'll be discussing the role of ethics in our daily lives. In fact, when you look at the syllabus of UPSC GS paper 4, you will see there's a topic called essence of ethics. And relevance, role, importance of ethics forms a key part of the topic called essence of ethics. And today in this video, we'll be doing that. And further up, in this video, what we'll do is we'll discuss the concept first, we'll understand the relevance of ethics, then towards the end, I'll list out the previous year's questions that UPSC had in the question paper. Defining ethics. Before we dive into the topic of exploring the role of ethics and trying to understand, does ethics make sense? Does it pay to be moral in our daily lives? I shall start by explaining the meaning of the word ethics and briefly outline the ways the word ethics has been used over a period of time. The word ethics comes from a Greek word called ethos, which means character. But the problem is, over a period of years, the word has acquired multiple meanings. And that's what I'll start with now. Alright, let's see how dictionaries define the meaning of the word ethics. And if you look at dictionaries, they list out different meanings of the word ethics. For instance, some dictionaries consider ethics as a discipline dealing with what is good and bad and with moral duty and obligations. Some list out the meaning as a set of moral principles or values. A few more dictionaries, they list out the meaning of ethics as the principles of conduct governing an individual or a group. So you can see the word ethics has been given different meanings by different dictionaries. Okay, let's leave the dictionaries aside. Let's shift to academic encyclopedias, like Encyclopedia of Social Sciences, Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Let's see how they list out the meaning of the word ethics. Now, if you look carefully, if you read into these encyclopedias, you will see the meaning of the word ethics is somewhat like this: a general pattern or way of life, as in, say for example, Buddhist ethics or Jain ethics. So there the word ethics refers to a pattern of life. Some encyclopedias list out the meaning of the word ethics as a set of rules of conduct or moral code, as in, say, medical ethics, where doctors have a moral code, or engineering ethics, where engineers have a set of moral codes. That's the second way the encyclopedias list out the meaning of the word ethics. Thirdly, some encyclopedias list out the meaning of the word ethics as an inquiry about ways of life and rules of conduct. Let's leave the dictionaries and the encyclopedias aside. Let's see what the scholars say. Let's look at Jacques Sirot. He wrote a very popular textbook called Ethics, Theory and Practice. And in that textbook, he defines ethics as ethics deals with what is right or wrong in human behavior and conduct. That's Jacques Sirot for you. Let's take one more scholar, Judith Bos. She wrote a very popular book, Ethics for Life. And in that book, she defined ethics as ethics is often used to refer to a set of standards of right and wrong established by a particular group and imposed on members of that group as a means of regulating and setting limits on their behavior. That was Judith Bos in her book Ethics for Life. Let's look at Louis Pojman. He wrote a very popular book again, and the book was very interestingly titled Ethics, discovering right and wrong. The key word is discovering right and wrong. And he defined ethics as a branch of philosophy. Let's see what he writes in that book. He writes, ethics is a branch of philosophy that deals with how we ought to live, with the idea of the good and with the concepts such as right and wrong. I'm sure by now all of you must be wondering, what is ethics? Dictionaries define it differently, encyclopedias give a different opinion, scholars use it differently. What exactly is ethics? Let me list out. When you look at all the definitions very carefully, you will see that the study of ethics deals with some questions. In other words, when you study ethics or when we explore ethics, you will be studying about these questions. How should we live our lives? What is right and wrong in human behavior? What does right, good, duty, character mean? Who sets the standards of right and wrong? How do we make our moral judgments? These are the questions that subject of ethics deals with. So when you study ethics, you'll be exploring all these questions. And while exploring these questions, we'll also try to understand what role ethics plays in our lives. Why should I explore these questions? This is what we'll be discussing in this video. Why study ethics? Now that we have understood the meaning of the word ethics, we have learned how scholars use the word ethics, we have listed out the question that ethics focuses upon. Now let's get into establishing the relevance of ethics. What role ethics plays in our lives? Why should I study ethics? Let's explore this question. Decision making. Every act of living that we perform on daily basis is based on choices. And every choice is based on some decision or the other. And whenever we make a decision, these decisions impact not only our lives, but these decisions also have an impact on others. And humans are social animals. So when we live in a society, every single decision we make will somehow or in some way will impact others. And humans are a very integral part of the community. And we have to be an important part of community. So that's why whenever we make a decision, we think about this part, how my decisions are going to impact others. We are not individuals living like Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway. I'm sure some of you must have seen that movie, Castaway, where Tom Hanks was marooned on an island for a lot of time. He lived alone there. And I'm very sure when Tom Hanks was living alone in that island, all marooned and cut off from the world, I'm very sure when he was making decisions, he never thought about how his decisions were going to impact others. But we are not Tom Hanks living in a marooned island. We are not living alone. We are essential members of community. So that's why whenever we make decisions, we have to think how my decision is going to impact others. So that's why whenever we carry out our decisions or whenever we come to a conclusion about a certain action, we always think about this part. We always weigh our decisions on a scale of ethics. We always think about the values. For example, we don't like to deceive others. Why? Because we know deception can be hurtful. We are very sure we don't like to embarrass others or hurt others, because hurting others can be harmful. So that's why as essential members of community, whenever we make these decisions, we always think about how my decisions are going to impact others. That's the first thing that ethics does to us. It makes you sensitive about your decisions and about how your decisions are going to impact others. So that's why by learning ethics or by practicing ethics, you become sensitive, you become morally aware about the impact of your decisions. That's the purpose of studying ethics. That's the role of studying ethics. Therefore, every decision made and act has an ethical tone to it and a value consideration underneath it. Comprehending social issues. Okay, let's come down to the second role of ethics. The first one was all about decision making and how it makes us ethically sensitive. The second one is more relevant to contemporary times. Just imagine, how do you feel when you get to know that human organs are being grown in pig's body? I should just imagine a situation, there's a driverless car, and the driverless car, as it goes on the road, it kills a person. An accident happens and a person dies. Whom will you hold responsible? Will you hold the driver responsible? Oh, there is no driver. Will you hold the passenger responsible? He's not driving. Who will you hold responsible? As we move into 21st century, we see this new technology coming in. A lot of new technologies come in. AI, genetics, robotics, and all these technologies will create new ethical issues. Suddenly, if you notice, privacy has become a big issue, data privacy. Oh, bodily autonomy is getting to be a bigger issue nowadays. So as we get into 21st century, with every new technology coming in, you'll have a new ethical issue coming in. And we as citizens have to understand the implications of these technologies. Oh, yes, technology simplifies our life, fine. But along with simplification, technology also brings in ethical issues. So studying ethics helps you to understand these issues of technology, issues of emerging technologies, how it's going to impact my life. That's why one of the reasons of studying ethics is it'll help you to grapple with these issues very well. In short, ethics helps us with comprehending the ethical issues that are affecting our society and our lives. To live as a community. We just explored the role of ethics in decision making, and also the role of ethics in understanding the wider issues that confront a society, especially issues of technology. Now let's move to the third one. Ethics is a glue that holds the community together. Just imagine living in a world where everybody cheats the other person. Just imagine living in a world where deception is the norm. Just imagine living in a world where nobody speaks the truth. Sounds fun, right? But the problem is, when you live in such a world, survival becomes tough because there'll be no trust. You cannot trust the government. You will not be able to believe the news. In fact, you will not be able to believe your own friends. You think relationships can exist in a world like that where everybody lies and deceives? No, it is impossible. That's why we need to learn to practice ethics. That's why we need to have some basic values such as honesty, basic values such as not harming others, because that's a glue that holds a society together. I remember an old Upanishad story. It's a wonderful story, by the way. In the olden days, there was an ashrama system. First ashram was brahmacharya ashram, next ashram was grahasth ashram. In a Gurukul, a bunch of students had finished their brahmacharya ashram. It was the last year of the education. And they requested the master, the guru, to give them a farewell speech, a message which they can carry throughout their lives. And they were expecting the guru to give them a long list of lessons or a speech or advice. But they were surprised that Guru just came and told them two words. The two words were Satyam, Vada. That means speak the truth. What Guru meant here was live truthfully. Only by living truthfully, you can survive as a member of a community. Only by living truthfully, individuals can contribute to society. And only by living truthfully, we can hold the society together in harmony. That is why ethics is relevant. It's a glue that holds a society together. That's why moral values become relevant. That's why in schools you're taught honesty is the best policy. Why? Because that's a glue, that's a cement that holds a society together. In simple words, without any functional morality, society would not even be possible. Ethics enriches the quality of a life. Taking off from the third point, where ethics acts as a social glue that holds a society together, let's take it a little forward here. Ethics also contributes to enriching our own life. It improves the quality of life. Just imagine living in a world or living in a community where crime is rife, murder is the norm, robbery is the norm, burglary is the norm. Nobody lives or practices their profession honestly. Can you imagine living in a world like that? When you live in such a world, just imagine, when you live in such a world where your life itself is not guaranteed, what kind of a quality of life will you have? That's why ethics ensures quality of life. That's why practicing ethics ensures that we all are able to live harmoniously, practice our profession honestly, and at the same time are able to enrich our lives. Because without ethics, as Hobbes said it, minus morality, life will be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Developing a positive moral identity. Whenever we talk about personality, everybody talks about physical appearance, attitude, positive attitude, communication skills, or interpersonal skills. No! Personality also includes a moral dimension. Above all of it, your physical appearance, your behavior, underneath all of it, what lies is your moral identity. How do others see you? Do they see you as an honest person? Do they find you trustworthy? How do others see you as a moral person? Now that's where practicing ethics comes in. When you start practicing ethics, you develop a moral identity. And precisely because of this, Socrates, in one of Plato's dialogues, Socrates says, only a just person, or in other words, in Socrates' words, only a person who practices ethics or understands the questions of ethics can live happily. So the purpose of studying ethics is this: to develop a positive moral identity and to lead a life of happiness or a life of fulfillment. That's why ethics helps us in developing a positive personality. That's why, in short, every choice we make contributes towards producing the moral personality that will define us in the next moment. Now that we have explored the role of ethics, we have understood the role ethics plays in decision making. We've understood how ethics helps us in grappling with larger issues that confront society. We've understood how ethics enriches our lives, how it positively contributes to our positive moral identity. Now it's time we can look into previous year's questions. If you're very clear about these roles that ethics plays, which we listed out above, you'll be able to easily sort out these questions. Let's look at the questions. In the year 2014, the question was, what does ethics seeks to promote in human life? Why is it all the more important in public administration? This was in 2014. Let's take a look at 2016 question. In 2016, the question was, explain how ethics contributes to social and human well-being. This was a very simple question we discussed already. Let's look at 2022. One more question was there. It's a little longer question. It is believed that adherence to ethics and human actions would ensure the smooth functioning of an organization/system. If so, what does ethics seeks to promote in human life? How do ethical values assist in the resolution of conflicts faced by him in his day-to-day functioning? That was in 2022. And these are the three questions we have, and all the three questions are something which we discussed in today's video. Now that you have understood the concept, we list out the questions, I have a small request. On the basis of what you have learned today, why don't you try framing an answer? Just a brief one. Just try framing one and leave it in the comments. I'll take a look and get back to you guys. Till then, see you.